Again, this is another area here where there's no swale on either side of the road. And like I say, they had before the gas guys came, because I've been plowing this road for 11 years, this had a nice crown to it. The water would run off both sides. But because of the heavy trucks and the heavy equipment, they packed it down flat, and then they never bothered to re-crown it. And that's why the water is basically in the middle of the road here. It's not running off the road. And all it does is make more mud and washes more and more stone away. A company by the name of Price-Gregory, I believe they're out of Texas, did this work, and it's pretty shoddy. I think the reason that they didn't do a good job on this guy's driveway here is because it's so long, and it would have cost them some money that they didn't want to spend. I mean, all this here, they had actually taken, the older guys that had this place, or have it, had this all cleared up so that the water would run off of here, because this had been a problem area at one time. And you can see the pond that's there, you know, the water was made to run off that direction. There's like a, you know, swale over there, but it's not being used because of the way that they graded the road. And like I say, there's water laying here, and at this end here, about a month ago, after some complaining, they came up here and put one load of stone in here. So they put the stone basically from right here part way around the curve. But really, I mean, the water's still laying there. The water's laying there because the road, this road here, because they raised this grade in here, what they should have done was put a pipe across here and then covered that with stone so the water would go through under the road. Now the water runs down this high spot and comes onto the road, and the way they have the road graded here, it's basically just sitting here instead of getting away from the road. So it doesn't look like a really big issue at the moment, but you know what, when these older guys come up here and they're trying to drive their trucks through this, it's nothing but a sloppy mess in the wintertime. It freezes, so the ruts freeze when they drive through the slush, and it really makes it hard for them to get around. I mean, you know, if you get out of your truck, you break your neck. You can see where the water's running over the road here. Now it's just doing it slightly. Let me just back up here. Yeah, you can see where it's running over the road. And when it rains really hard, it runs harder. So you can see the water running down basically the middle of the road. There's supposed to be a swale over there, and there is a bit of a swale left, and there's some water running over there. But what's happening here is this rain is coming out, the water's coming out onto the road right up here, right up in this area, and it's washing all of the stone and all of the dirt off of the rocks. So it makes for a very rough, rocky road to drive on. I mean, you can see the rocks are showing. They were supposed to put stone on here, but they put such a small amount of stone on that it washes off easily, and they never crowned the road, you know, like a crown effect. They didn't do that. That's why this road is washing away in the middle. So looking down the road here, this open area is where the gas well people were going to use as a bypass to get up this driveway when more than one truck was coming up here. So, but instead of grading this off in such a way that the water would run onto the grass, it's running down the middle of the road because of the way they graded it. The biggest problem here was that they had a D7 dozer that has a blade that's the width of the road. So the operator couldn't make swales on each side of the road. He couldn't tilt his blade without making a big mess, so they just flattened the road off. But now, since they left here about half a year ago or better, this whole thing in here is, instead of having the crown that it used to have when the older guys had this road, now it's washing everything away and it's making a mess, and it's going to be hard to plow come winter time. Then we look up this direction, And you can see, obviously, you know, there's no water running off the road here. It's staying in the middle of the road. Now, when this pond here gets filled, the water just keeps running down the road. There's really not a swale there to handle the water. There used to be, though. You can see that there was a swale here. This was dug out specifically by the guys who had the right of way to the road for the water to run off, but these guys didn't do that when they left. So now there's ponds of water everywhere. And again, when this freezes solid in the wintertime, it's hard to get traction on this to be able to plow it. In this area right here, you can see that this goes uphill. There's no swale at all, so the water runs down the middle of the road. The crazy thing about this is that this side of the road is actually lower, and if they would have just graded the road the right way, the water would have run off onto the side of the road, but it doesn't. So it runs down the middle of the road, and you know, this isn't the worst it gets. I mean, when it really pours, this is like a little creek here, the way it runs. So guys, then the surprising part here is, if you look at this, the grade is fairly flat. You can see where there's water starting to run down here. But here's the surprising part. Right here where this swale is, this swale runs into a detention pond that's in there. The pond was made to catch the water coming down the road, but because of the way they graded this, the water bypasses this trench and runs down the center of the road rather than running into the detention pond. The purpose of and the expense of the guy who built the development to put that pond in there, right now, you know, it's not working because the water's not running into it. So you can see the pond there. I mean, they planted some trees around it to blend it in nice, but it's just not doing anything. And they even have a little overflow here for when it does overflow, when the water used to run into it. The overflow's right there. You can see where the ground goes down. That's the overflow.